This is Marina from Darkstar Astrology bringing you August forecast, and I'm doing this early because I'm going to be going on holiday for a bit, so I thought I might as well get this out so that I don't have to rush it out when I get back. Now, August isn't a very interesting month in terms of astrology. There's not that much going on that is tense, I guess you should say. I mean, after July, this July is so busy. It's busy because there's two eclipses. There's a full moon that's kind of in between the August and July. Now, I just realised that in England it's 1st of August, the full moon, but in America, because I'm more focused on America these days, it's the 31st of July. So we get 3 moons in July if you're in the USA, and we get 3 in August if you're in the UK. Now, so I think what I'll focus on is the very nice transits that we're going to get in August, and the nice ones are the fact that Jupiter goes direct on the the 14th, and on that very day as well we get a really lovely Venus-Sun conjunction, and usually Venus-Sun conjunctions are seen as being, auspicious. It's in Leo, so it's very theatrical. It's a really good day for a wedding. I mean, that's the wedding aspect, really. So I'll look and see if anybody's charts or any country's charts have got 21 Leo prominent. But that's really it. There's not that much I can sort of warn about, as it were. Mercury also goes direct on the 2nd of August as well. So again, no Mercury retrogrades either. So yeah, July, I think we need a quiet month, don't we, to recover from July. So first of all, I'm just going to go through the month sort of day by day, and you'll see that the Sun, Venus and Mars are in Leo as well. So it's busy for Leos. And also for any of the fixed signs, because you'll be getting a hard aspect, which always makes things happen. And of course, you see, actually, come to think of it, it might be a month of surprises. It might seem like it's going to be a quiet month, but remember, the Sun and Venus are going to square Uranus, I think. Oh no, actually no, they've done that already. So no. Yeah, you kind of start off the month with the Sun just having squared Uranus. So at the end of July, there may be an unexpected July will go out with a bang, really, I think. But then that's it. Then you get Venus. You get Venus square Uranus. Yeah, you get that August the 2nd, sorry. It's just early on in the month. So I think it's just kind of the last... dregs of the July craziness that will just kind of like round it all off, and then we can expect a bit of peace and quiet, I think. So the really nice days start around August the 6th, and this is because you've got the Sun and Venus close to each other. Now the Sun is combust Venus, and combustion is supposed to not be so great, but because Jupiter will be trining it at the same time, I think you'll get the positive sides. I mean, the Sun will definitely overpower Venus because the Sun is in its sign. It's in Leo, so it's really, really blazing over. It's scorching Venus, really. So if there's going to be any feminist uprising at that time, I don't think they'll do very well. That's all I can say, because the Sun is totally overpowering it, and apparently combustion with the Sun is much harder for the feminine watery planets than it is for say Mars, because I was having a look at the Mars Sun conjunction, because we've got a really interesting thing coming up, but that's in September. September is going to be all action again, but for now let's just look at this calming, quite nice, I think balancing kind of trine, really. And I think it's sort of, I see it as calming irate women down, stopping them being so premenstrual, and and hormonal, I guess. And sorry, I mean, I know I'm a woman, so but I think it will calm any kind of raging feminist uprisings, if there are going to be any, really. But yeah, great for a wedding. It's great for sort of the traditional sort of woman is, oh God, this is going to sound so submissive to the man. But, you know, the woman who lets the man wear the trousers, let's put it that way, really. And, you know, the bride weddings tend to support, you know, the woman looking all pretty and delicate and virginal in her white, with the groom being manly, I guess. He's not going to be wearing a dress. Well, I don't know. There can be some weddings, I guess, like that. But yeah, for most people, the wedding has that. It still kind of harks back to kind of 1950s kind of values, really, you know, and women like their big dress, and it's a kind of, you know, you're a princess for the day type thing. And that's so Leo, that's so Venus conjunct Sun in Leo, with a combust Sun, you know, she's sort of bound down to the glory of her man. And but being quite happy to do that, you know. Yes, you know, I will be chattel to you for the rest of my life. I'll love, honour and obey. I know people don't say obey anymore, do they? But it is kind of harks back to that kind of time. And Jupiter is trining that as well. So I think hang on, how long does this go on for? So it's sort of August the 6th, and it reaches a kind of peak Stepford Wives kind of element on August the 9th. Or maybe we shouldn't call it that. That's very derogatory. I think I'll call it peak 1950s on August the 9th. It's very sort of Barbie pink lipstick sort of thing. Very Barbie and Ken. That's the sort of image I'm getting with this conjunction. So that's peak Barbie and Ken on August the 9th. And actually, it might be a good day for a pink wedding dress, wouldn't it? That would like just go over the top with it. Although I guess that's not very virginal, is it? But anyway. You get the drift. So then it carries on, though, because then Jupiter is slowing down. 12th and the 13th is when Venus and the Sun are conjunct, really. Then Venus and the Sun, they're still conjunct, but they're no longer trine Jupiter by the 14th. But yeah, they're pretty much, the Sun and Venus are pretty much close. All the way up to August the 20th, and then Venus goes into Virgo for August the 21, and then she's conjunct Mars. Right, it's not in September, it's in August, at 4 degrees of Virgo, and that's August the 24th. So it's such a romantic month. It really, really is. And now with this Venus Mars conjunction, they are square Ceres, so I'm not sure what to really make of that, because Ceres is the Persephone myth, and I don't want to keep going on about this paedophile thing and Jeffrey Epstein, but I can't kind of ignore it at the moment because it's such a big news. And also Ceres is the Persephone, it's the young innocent Persephone, and it's also the mother of Persephone as well, it's Demeter. So to have that square Venus and Mars in Virgo, which itself is the maiden as well, and have them both making a learning triangle with Uranus, and Uranus is, it's unexpected events and shocks. I mean, there may be something in August that does come out towards the end, but aside from that, it's a nice romantic month, and it's a great month for holidays, and honeymoons and weddings. So, if you're having a honeymoon or a wedding or going to one, if you have any planets that are triggered by those degrees, and you're single, you might actually meet someone at that time. So yeah, don't get out and about. Don't stay at home and don't do anything, and don't. Rejoice in life and living instead of getting too wrapped up in the in the news. I mean, I'm a one to talk because I really do get wrapped up in this, but I guess it's kind of my job as well to keep an eye on things. Otherwise, I couldn't bring it to you. But at the same time, I just want to make recommendations of not to take a break from it as well, because otherwise it can become depressing and can be very draining. Now, actually, at this point, before I go into looking at the USA and the UK in this, I do want to mention that I have heard really sad news of the passing of Tracy Twyman. You might not have heard of her, but if you haven't, look into her work if there is any of it left on the internet, because she deleted a load of it. She was looking into and researching the paedophile networks and child traffic networks, and she was heavily into that. And I don't know if she mysteriously died. Nobody seems to know why. She felt it a duty to do this, and anyone who's a mother does feel a duty to be aware of these networks and to protect our kids, because if we don't protect them, who is? Because obviously the police aren't, and they're all in it. They're in it, involved with it. Hence things like Rotherham and the rape gangs in England as well. Those things too. I haven't forgotten about those. They're still, I don't know, I guess they're still going on. So she mysteriously passed away, and apparently another couple of people. I don't really know much about the others, but when I heard about Tracy, and I heard it was only a couple of days after the Epstein arrest, which I just thought really strange timing. And I was listening to her quite a lot about maybe 4 years ago, and at that time she freaked me out a little bit, because she was trying to contact the Baphomet through a Ouija board, and I just thought, I don't know about this. I don't know. I kind of moved away from her because of that. But then apparently I just think she was someone who just wanted to know the truth, and she'd go to any means to do it by the sounds of things. So and I think more recently she was more involved with the kind of Pizzagate stuff. But I just think this is very, very suspicious. And wow, people are losing their lives because of investigating this stuff. It just rings alarm bells, doesn't it, really? And this is July. This is happening in July, when there are all these really freaky eclipses and Saturn South Node and the kind of Baphomet thing and Capricorn. It's just, I don't know, there's too much. And also there's a lot of what's his name, Robert Phoenix was talking about, they did a special on this, him and Off Planet Media, as a kind of tribute to Tracy, and he was bringing up Gemini as well. That she's a very sort of Gemini archetype, and we've had the sun through the twins, at the moment. I know it's in Cancer, but the constellation of Gemini, Castor and Pollux, that's really been triggered by the sun. In fact, the sun is on Pollux. No, sorry, it's on. It's actually in between the twins today while I'm recording this. The sun was on Castor, the good twin, a couple of days ago. So again, this is while this paedophile scandal is surfacing, and it is like the good twin. It's the one who wants to be the truth teller, and but there's the dark side as well. The good twin that brings out the bad side, the dark side. The good twin that knows the dark side because they are connected to. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about the twins. There's so much myth about twins, and there's the DNA strands, and Mercury with the two serpents on the pillar. There's something about when we're in a polarity world, aren't we? We're in a binary world, and so the twin symbolism at the moment, it's July. The sun's been going through the constellation of Gemini, and Mercury retrograde is going to trigger that again anyway. Mercury's been going through the twins as well. Mercury will be conjunct Pollux all the way to August the 3rd, from July the 26th. So why so long? I don't know. I think it's just that it's slowing down. Yes, it's slowing down to turn direct. That's why. So yeah, there's going to be a lot. It's just bringing up all the child stuff, and also because the twins are children. You know, they're two little kids. So it's grim at the moment, and then that's why we kind of need August to just chill out and regroup and have a good rest, you know, and recharge ourselves, really. Also, just a little recap, because it's quite nice to do a recap of what actually did happen in July, because July the 8th was when Mercury was conjunct Mars, and that's when Epstein had the court hearing, didn't he? And also, it's just angry words, you know. Actually, I called my Mercury conjunct Mars post Dangerous Minds, and I think Tracy Twyman was a dangerous mind to these people. I mean, she was receiving death threats. She really was. So this needs to be investigated. It really does. So yeah, I'm in no doubt now that we are in World War III. It's just not being fought on the battlefields. It's being fought for our minds and our souls. And that's why, you know, Mercury conjunct Mars, that sort of brought it really home to me. Everything that was happening around that time, because everything's being used as a weapon. Everything. And mind control, Mercury. Yeah, it's something to examine at the moment while we have Mercury retrograde. So yeah, I'm glad I'm doing these monthly things now, because, you know, you can look to the month before and then look at what happened in the month just gone past. And I mean, we're halfway through it, through July. And didn't I say that America was going to have a lot of crazy transits? And it has. I mean, we're halfway through and look what's already happened. It's pretty dull. The news in the UK is pretty dull. I'm really not interested in the Tory who's going to be Prime Minister thing. It's like it's a done deal. It's going to be Boris, and, you know, he's going to cock it up, and it's, you know, that's something to look to maybe. Well, I'll look at that another time. But at the moment, it's all eyes are on the USA. Okay, so let's look at August now, and will this continue? What's going on with the USA in August? So yeah, again, because this is such an old chart, the planets are going to be a little bit behind, as we have seen, but it's worked. This precession works because of what's been going on. Now, the North Node in August is still coming back to the US Sun, so it's still going on. Yeah, in fact, it's going to intensify. So North Node is going to be on the US Sun. Saturn is now retrograded to 10 of Capricorn, so it's no longer so closely connected to the South Node, but it will go direct again, and then it will come back. So let's see when that will be. I don't think that won't be in August, but it will be probably in September. So we won't look at that. I think the most interesting is really, well, Lilith and Neptune together. Now, for natal readings, I use true Lilith because it is the true position, but it wavers so much. When you look at transits, it's much better to use the mean one because it's an averaged out position, and just to get a rough idea where it's hovering. Oh, well, that's not worth looking at because it won't get to Neptune until October the 1st. But when it does, it's going to be at 13 degrees of Pisces, which will be trine the US Sun. So I think we'll get some good news there to do with this. Maybe more Liliths or abused girls coming out. And you see, once one of them comes out, it only takes one, and then it's a sort of snowball effect, because I'm sure so many of them are just so scared. I mean, when you get just journalists who are even just looking at it from a conspiracy angle, I mean, why do they take someone like Tracy Twyman even seriously? They could easily just, I mean, no disrespect to her or her memory or her work, it's just that, normally they would just dismiss them as oh, these are crazy conspiracy theories. Why would they, why would they do if it's suspicious? I don't know. I really don't know what happened to her. But it seems suspicious to me. But, why? Couldn't they? Because there's a lot of people like David Icke who are still alive, and Alex Jones, and who've addressed these subjects as well. But they're all right, And maybe it's because they can be dismissed as crazy conspiracy theorists. That's the word I was looking for. But yeah, it seems really strange. So anyway, this Lilith Neptune conjunction, trine USA Sun, that's in October, but we really need to look at what's going on now. Of course, Jupiter will turn direct. This was going to be one of the main things to talk about as well. Jupiter going direct August the 12th, and guess where it's going direct? On the ascendant of the USA. Now, using precession, it puts it at 11 degrees, not 14. And of course, the ascendant of the USA is 12, so it's very, very near. Now, Jupiter it is the legal profession. And it's, like I said, it's kind of associated with a certain group of people, I think. Now, it's not generally seen as a malefic, but in view of what's going on, and court cases and lawyers, and the type of people who are lawyers, and the type of people who are under investigation at the moment, it's Jupiter doing stuff, or it's Jupiter being brought to the fore, and he's also like a super elite planet because he is, he's the god of all gods who can disguise himself, shapeshift, so that he can catch his nymphs. So this is all very Epstein-y, I guess. And negative Jupiter, of course, is the greedy paedophile. And apparently this guy, he just had, there were so many. It's like they had to have a new batch of fresh young girls all the time. So, what for? What for? Why so many? So it wasn't just him. It's obviously for, oh God, it's just horrible to even think about it. The orgies. So, anyway, so we have Jupiter on the ascendant of the US. So it's not going to, I don't think this is going to go away quickly. You've got the North Node on the US Sun. That's not going to go away quickly either. And then, of course, Saturn as well. Once that goes direct, same thing. It's at 11 degrees of Capricorn, and it's going to be opposite the US Sun still. So when does that end? Yeah, you see that goes direct in October as well. So all through the summer, this is not going away. It's not going to be buried. Too many people now are onto it. And then Neptune too is also trining the Sun. So I hope that this is transparency. This Neptune, 13 degrees of Pisces. The positive side of Neptune is that it's people are starting to, I think, get really good with their intuition, and they are able to tune into this and know what's going on now. And it's just hard to hide it. People are going to trust their intuition more, put two and two together. It's out there in the ether now. People are going to be talking about it on social media. They'll try and, the Jupiterians, the Elites are going to try and they're going to try and ban people. Of course they are. But it's just not going to work because there's too many. There's too many of us, and there's only a small little percentage of them. So the only way that they are winning this Third World War is, and indeed any war is always run by a minority, isn't it? You know, these elites at the top who get asked to fight for them, fight for whoever's team. But with the internet, that's what Neptune's about, and it's this kind of collective consciousness. It's so funny. The internet is nothing that we can see. I mean, we plug into it, but it is like a kind of brain in the cloud, you know. What the cloud, I mean, God, that's so Neptune as well, really. Vapor clouds. But so that's the US. I think let's look at the UK. Anything exciting happening with us? Come on, we got to have something. Oh, at the moment we do actually have something. We do have Tommy Robinson, who's been put into jail for 9 months, and there have been protests about that. So anything in the transits that sort of says that? So it wasn't completely dull and boring for us. Oh, well, as I record this, the sun is actually on the moon of the UK chart, and we have precessed Pluto at 18 opposite the moon, but it's retrograde as well. So things are brewing underground, but nothing's going to surface quite yet, I don't think. However, August is a bit more exciting because we'll have Saturn trining Mars in the 8th house, so that's more kind of underground stuff going on as well. And Saturn's also applying to the Sun in retrograde. So the Sun is at 10 degrees of Capricorn for the UK, and Saturn's coming back towards it. I don't know if it actually gets there. Hang on. Well, Saturn stations direct on September the 19th at just shy of it, so it doesn't get as far back as 10 degrees 10 minutes. But the fact that it's applying to the Sun all through August, I mean, that's important as well. Now, the Sun is the leader, and of course we're going through a change of a leadership contest. So I think if I was going to predict, it's going to be to stick with what we know, and that's Boris, really. There's a lot of action in the 12th house, so that's all behind the scenes as well. So we the general public, we won't know what's going on, but there's probably a lot of stuff going on underground because everybody's panicking. The EU is panicking as well because, you know, time is running out, and there's that October the 31st deadline as well. That's what we've got. We're supposed to leave by then if nothing happens. So I think what probably Boris is going to do is just kind of blunder all the way to Halloween and hope that it just by default it'll probably we'll just go out without a deal. Kind of hope that will happen, but that seems a little bit too easy, doesn't it? So I think there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes to stop that happening, and they've already tried to have some scandals with Boris, haven't they, with his supposedly argument with his partner and neighbours eavesdropping and calling the police in. So that's all that's really been happening. And then Tommy Robinson. But yeah, our little skirmishes seem really pale into significance compared to the whole Epstein thing. It just seems like silly little domestic a storm in a teacup, really, in England. So it seems a bit sort of like nothing, not that much of a big deal, really. And I don't want to speak too soon either, but we haven't really had any horrible... we haven't had much fear-mongering. We haven't had any terrorism either, which is strange, isn't it? Because a couple of years ago, there was loads of that, and now... it's all peaceful, all very eerily calm because we've got enough to deal with Brexit. And I think if there was, say, some kind of terrorist attack, that's just going to make people on the right get even more like or actually just normal people are just going to say, no, let's leave because we don't want any more terrorism. We don't want, we want to go back to our green and peaceful tea drinking land without any of this crazy stuff. So yeah, it is, isn't it funny? You know, very convenient that no terrorism at the moment because it just wouldn't fit the narrative. But I just looked at the I should keep up with the news. There is actually stuff going on. Just looked at the Guardian, and UK to send a second warship to the Gulf amid crisis with Iran. Destroyer will be deployed. Within days to protect British commercial oil tankers. So what's going on there? Now this is interesting because in this article in The Guardian, they talk about Jeremy Hunt, you know, the rival to Boris. And they said West fears have been echoed by Jeremy Hunt, the Foreign Secretary, who has renewed his call for US spending on defence to double. Here we go, warmonger. Hunt said the UK was not seeking to escalate the crisis with Iran and that it was a time for cool heads. Oh yeah, and then, but let's double our defence spending. Okay, so yeah, so there's nothing from Boris about this, but Hunt's been quoted. So, well, I guess that would just be normal. He is the Foreign Secretary at the moment. So yeah, maybe that's why. But it's just funny. It's funny. I wonder why this is happening at the moment as well. I don't really understand why it's happening and what it's really about. I'm looking at another article in the Telegraph because every time I look up things, The Guardian always comes up as the first thing to read. Yeah, The Guardian, I really want to trust that paper. So the Telegraph just says, the UK now finds itself walking a tricky tightrope. On one hand, it wants to preserve the US special relationship and is under pressure from hawks within the Trump administration to take a firmer stance on Iran. On the other hand, it agrees with fellow EU signatories to the landmark 2005 nuclear accord that they must do all they can to keep it alive. I guess that's some kind of nice treaty with Iran. So again, it just looks like the UK is always in this kind of triangular relationship with the EU and the US. So yeah, when I looked in the news and I saw this oil tanker thing and Britain sending another one, it made me think, oh my God, something really is happening. And again, it's kind of this fear-mongering thing, and it's all coming from The Guardian. But I thought that can't be right because the transits for the UK are not really that of a big deal. They don't look very provocative. And so then it's always good to go to the Telegraph because it's a bit more of a calmed, reasoned approach. Now, this is a quote from Sanam Vakil, who heads the Iran Forum at Chatham House. And she just said, I don't think we're about to go to war, at least until there is a new Prime Minister who can define objectives. I think that is the assumption that if Boris Johnson becomes Prime Minister, the UK will align more closely with US policy. But is Donald Trump going to be aggressive towards Iran or not? As I said, there's a lot of important transits going on with the US at the moment. I don't know if they're related to this or whether they're related to Epstein and taking down the deep state. But they're all kind of related, aren't they? Because it's all to do with this Middle Eastern issue and who has control there, because that's the land of oil, that's very Pluto. That's where you've got the only democratic nation there. And we want to be on the side of democracy, don't we? Yeah, democracy. We're so democratic that when we have a referendum, we ignore it. Bullshit, isn't it? It's such bullshit. Anyway, okay. So I think I'm going to look at the EU chart just to see if there's anything going on there. Oh, well, there really is, because August the 2nd, you've got Uranus on the midheaven of the EU chart. So big changes going on there. And Mars is coming up to the ascendant as well. So some shock, some trauma, some unexpected stuff happening. I don't know what. I know I heard some kind of whisperings about the Bundesbank or the main bank in Germany, whatever it is, being in trouble, and Merkel being in trouble and being all shaky at some ceremony. And I think, Germany is so much the kind of almost the head. I think Germany sort of is like the midheaven of the EU, because that's the image that really is shown to the world. Like Germany is the kind of head of it, really. And so Uranus, I think something shocking and unexpected will happen for the EU in August the 2nd. I mean, I don't know whether it's a banking collapse, whether it's Merkel collapse or what. But also Pluto is on the EU Uranus Neptune conjunction as well. So the big players are playing. But Uranus also goes retrograde on the midheaven of the EU chart. So that's big news. That's pretty big. And this is at August the 18th. So the EU is undergoing some kind of another big transit, like the US is. There's not so much. I mean, the US is still the one that's going through the big Jupiter on the ascendant, but then even the EU, I mean, Uranus on the midheaven is big, it is big, and it's coming to a bit of an awakening as well. So the truth about the EU might come out as well. A liberation too. The EU chart with its Pluto-Mars conjunction. Woo! It's a pretty crazy chart anyway. And with that T-square. Anything hitting the T-square? Oh, yeah, the Mars-Venus. Yeah, let's see what news comes out of Europe or something about the EU on August the 20th, because that's when Mars, well, actually the Sun and Venus are at 23, 25 of Leo. So they're all, I mean, Mars is close enough to have an effect, I think. So all of that is making a grand cross with the EU's Moon, Saturn, Mars, Pluto T-square. All in Leo. So watch out for some news there. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because there's some big change happening. Maybe it's the start of the collapse, and we'll keep an eye on Merkel and Germany and the banks as well. But going back to the transit generally, I think I did say it was going to be a bit boring, but towards the end of the month is going to be actually quite exciting, because, with the Mars and the Venus conjunction, very passionate, a bit of a sort of Cupid's arrow being aimed at someone. And as the sun gets closer to it, as it goes into Virgo as well, it forms this rather interesting learning triangle, but I almost missed the fact that they're all going to be trining Uranus. So that's a sudden love affair. So if you've got anything hitting between about 2 degrees to 6 degrees of Virgo or mutable, that should be an exciting time. Especially if you're getting the Uranus transit anyway, because Mars will work as a trigger, so will Venus, so will the Sun, really. So towards the end of August, you've got that to look forward to. And although it's not trining Jupiter anymore, it's still making this learning triangle. So I think that's kind of lessons in love and nice ones. But yeah, with the square to Ceres, as I said earlier on, I mean, there are tensions. Sometimes that can be triangular relationships with the family. You might get involved with an affair that that the family disapprove of, maybe, that kind of thing. And then, yes, Uranus is kind of rebellious too. So this is a sort of rebellious affair that gets the family, or some members of the family, sort of tut-tutting and disapproving. But it's still passionate. It's a love affair, sudden love affair. All right then, so that really does bring me to the end, and I'll see you when I get back from my holes. Bye-bye.